now we can dig in and get started looking at this beautiful intro solo phrase by phrase. Now we're going to break this solo up into quite small and manageable chunks because this is one of those classic examples of learning the notes might be easy, mastering the notes and understanding what's going on and creating the same feel is anything but easy. This is a really complex, nuanced, beautiful piece of guitar playing. And, getting to the point where it sounds close to what Green is doing will require some effort and work, but will help to build up a whole range of skills which will really push your guitar playing to the next level and help you to understand how to control and to create this sort of beautiful feeling in your playing. So there's so much that we can take from it, and as such, we're going to be sort of looking at it in quite granular detail. Now, we're going to be starting here on the 9th fret of the G string with our first finger. And we'll talk in a second about what scale shape we're using and the boxes and all that sort of stuff. But let's just kind of get this first phrase under our fingers. We're going to be starting at that 9th fret on the G string. And we're going to be playing 9 with the first finger and then 11 with the third finger, like this. Once we've done that, we're going to shift our hand up slightly. We're going to be playing the 10th fret on the B string with the first finger, and then we're going to be bending on the 12th fret. So we've now got... We're going to be bending this note, but let's look exactly at what's happening here. Because we're going to bend, we're going to let the bend come down, and then we're going to bend back up again. Okay, so it's quite a nuanced, tricky technique straight out of the blocks. So that bend is as follows. So you're bending up, letting it come down, and then going back up. And that, by the way, is all with one pick of the picking hand. I played it there as 3 separate to show you the different stages, but it's actually executed like this. And when we put that on the back of the beginning, we've got this. And you're going to hold that bend in the way that I did there. Ideally, if you can, and if you're comfortable to do so, by adding a little bit of vibrato on there as well, just a little soft vibrato on that bend, sweeten it up, make it a little bit more expressive. If you don't know how to do that, or you're kind of, you're unsure of the technique, I've linked below to the ultimate guide to vibrato, where I run through this and the kind of fundamental vibrato techniques in much more detail. But because of the expressive nature of this solo, vibrato is going to be something I talk about a lot. So if you're not so sure of that side of things, head over there, run through that content first, and then come back and dig into this in a bit more detail. So we've got this so far. We're then going to drop down with the middle finger on the 11th fret of the G string. And by the way, we're not going to let that final bend come down. So you're going to leave it up there at the top, apply that vibrato, and then you're going to have to use a bit of your picking hand to cut the string so you don't get that sort of deflating balloon effect down to the starting point. So you're moving straight off that note to the middle finger, the 11th fret. And then you're going to execute this little hammer-on between the 10th and the 12th fret on the B string with the first and third fingers. You're going to go back to the 11th fret on the G string, 10th fret with the first finger on the B string, and then back again to that 11th fret on the G string. And that last note is a soft, so we'll talk about the articulation of this, but that last note particularly is worth mentioning straight out of the blocks that you're playing it softly. It's a very kind of quiet little small note. So when we put all that together, we've got this. One more time. So let's talk about the kind of articulation. Now, there's a couple of points where I think thinking about how you're articulating these notes really pays off. Firstly, the whole thing needs to be played quite gently. This is a sweet, melodic blues ballad. You cannot be digging in heavily with the picking hand. You know, a lot of players, myself included, I used to be so heavy-handed with my pick. You know, kind of in that Stevie Ray Vaughan style, bam, 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 you know, really hitting the strings hard. And a lot of players struggle, if they're into that kind of blues rock style of playing, to move into this sort of softer, gentler kind of approach. So make sure that you're not digging in, because you do not want to hear, you know, I overcooked the bend there, but you get the idea. You do not want to hear that kind of really brutal picking of the strings. So the whole thing should be articulated in a soft and sweet way. If you're struggling with that right hand or left hand, if you're left-handed picking, then just pretend that you're playing guitar in a room with your significant other, a family member, a friend who is asleep, and you don't want to wake them up. You're really exaggerating how softly you're playing, and you can almost take it to the extreme. As a way of kind of, you know, having the pendulum swing to the other side and then have it center somewhere in the middle between Stevie Ray Vaughan heavy pick attack, so quiet that, you know, you're not even really playing, you know, there in the middle, kind of Peter Green, Need Your Love So Bad. That's what we're aiming for. So that's the first thing. Beyond that, as noted, a little bit of vibrato on that bend, if you're able to do so, just works really, really well. Just adds a little bit of life to it. And the penultimate note of this section, so the first finger on the 10th fret of the B string, so you've just gone, again, a little bit of soft, sweet, kind of mellow vibrato, so not too wide. It can be a little faster, but you want it to be shallow, just to add a little life and breadth to that note. Works really, really well. And then, again, as noted, that final note is one that you probably want to pick quite quietly. Green does. And it's just almost like a slight tiny addition to the phrase. You know, it's almost like the phrase ends there. And then you just drop that little middle finger onto the 11th fret. Works really, really well. So think about that when you're trying to articulate this passage and this phrase, and that will set you up for the rest of the solo, which we'll dig into in the coming lessons. Now, scale-wise, pattern-wise, what we're doing here is we're playing in what you would probably think of as the 4th pentatonic shape. So we're playing in this shape here. And we're kind of focusing in this box area, which in combination with a few additional notes, which we'll look at more when we're improvising, is what's called the B.B. King box. It's known as the B.B. King box. And here we're doing it in the key of A, but it's a movable box shape that you can apply all over the fretboard. Sounds beautiful. It is conducive to so many cool blues, sweet kind of melodic blues licks. Key part, obviously, of B.B. King's playing, and also a big part of Peter Green's playing as well, when he was playing and sort of more in the style of B.B. King, who was one of his biggest inspirations. So that kind of is what's happening in terms of scale shapes if you're wanting to visualize what's going on the fretboard. And as mentioned, we're playing in the A major pentatonic scale here. So it's the 4th pentatonic shape, but it doesn't appear where it would on the fretboard if we were playing a minor pentatonic, Rather, it appears in that major pentatonic position, as I've shown on the fretboard diagrams below. So, guys, take your time with this. As I have mentioned before, as I will continue to mention many times throughout this course, learning the notes here is not the challenging part. This is not 100 notes a second, heavy blues rock, shred, or anything like that. It is a slow, sweet blues ballad where the notes are not the complicated part. It's the articulation, it's the phrasing, it's the timing, because there's a lot of space between the phrases, and we'll talk about that a little more in the next few lessons. But that is the challenge, and that's where I want you to focus your attention, making this sound as good as possible by focusing on your bending, your vibrato, your dynamics. Those are the key 3 areas that I'd like you to focus on for now. Good luck. This is a significant first step to getting this solo started and sorted, and also to just improving your articulation more generally, which is going to have a whole range of positive knock-on effects for the rest of your blues guitar playing. As always, give me a shout if you have any questions at all as you're going through this intro. Otherwise, good luck, and head over to the next lesson when you're ready. We'll dig into the next phrase in a bit more detail. See you over there.